Imagine a football team right on the edge of cementing an absolute historic fairy tale legacy. A squad carrying the suffocating weight and the soaring expectations of an entire football crazed nation on their backs. All led by a legendary, generational captain who's fighting tooth and nail for ultimate glory in the twilight of his career. By all the traditional rules of sports romance, right? This team should be the undisputed darlings of the tournament. Their journey should be carried forward by the collective cheers of the globe. But as we look at the reality of this World Cup, we're witnessing the exact opposite. This team hasn't just lost the crowd. They have somehow mutated into the ultimate villain of the tournament. Welcome to this explainer, where we're going to break down exactly how and why so much of the world is currently rooting against Argentina. 39. That is Lionel Messi's age. So obviously, this is his final World Cup. He is on this monumental, almost mythical quest to win his second consecutive World Cup trophy. It's an achievement that would finally and firmly cement his legacy at the absolute pinnacle of football history. Literally doing something that not even the great, deified Diego Maradona could accomplish for his country. On paper, it's the perfect, universally appealing sports narrative. You'd naturally think the entire neutral world would be behind him, cheering him on for this glorious send-off. But the reality is starkly different. The world, by and large, just isn't cheering for him. Now, okay, it goes without saying that certain factions are naturally always going to root against Argentina. We aren't talking about Cristiano Ronaldo fans here. It's completely expected that his fiercely loyal supporters would be rooting against Messi's success, and social media is absolutely flooded with their predictable opposition. But the animosity directed at Argentina right now goes way, way deeper than standard player rivalries.
Section 1. Rivals and Geopolitical Foes.
Okay, let's move to this and see how it builds. To figure out why everyday viewers have completely turned their backs on this squad, we literally have to retrace their steps through the intensely competitive knockout stages. From a highly emotional clash with Cape Verde, to a dramatic showdown against Egypt, and finally an absolute powder keg of a match against England, we can pinpoint the exact moments, controversies, and flashpoints where Argentina systematically alienated entirely different segments of the global audience. And to truly understand the sheer scale of the backlash they're facing right now, we have to start by looking at a massive geopolitical flashpoint that exploded in the aftermath of their recent victory against England. Moments after their tense knockout victory against England, amidst the roar of the stadium, the Argentine players made a highly controversial political statement right there on the pitch. They unfurled and held up this massive banner that translates to "The Falklands are ours." Within seconds, images of this banner were plastered across global media, and it sparked immediate outrage. To understand the gravity of this, we just need to look at the two fundamentally opposing perspectives at play. From the British perspective, these islands are a British colony, officially a British overseas territory, located off the coast of Argentina. However, from the Argentine perspective, the islands are known as Las Malvinas, and they are fiercely claimed as sovereign Argentine territory. This deep, unresolved dispute famously led to a war between the UK and Argentina back in 1982. The British won that conflict, but Argentina has never accepted British control over the islands. So the national football team choosing to hold up that specific banner in front of a global audience didn't just ruffle a few feathers. It deliberately ripped open old wounds and sparked a major, explosive diplomatic row on the world stage. The situation escalated so rapidly, moving beyond sports media and straight into the halls of government. It got to the point where Britain's outgoing Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, publicly called for a formal, urgent investigation by FIFA. But it's this incredibly cheeky remark from his spokesperson that really captures the overarching mood in the UK, stating on record that the KM wishes both teams well, especially Spain, perfectly sums up the absolute damage done. I mean, wow. It shows a complete, irreparable fracture. Even people in Britain who normally couldn't care less about football, and factions that rarely agree on politics, suddenly found themselves entirely united in their profound opposition to Argentina. The team effectively turned an entire nation of neutrals into die-hard Spanish supporters overnight. Section 2. Crushing the underdog. So we've covered the English and we've acknowledged the die-hard fans of rival players. But what about everyone else? What about the true neutral fan who just tuned in to watch some beautiful, entertaining football? To understand that shift in sentiment, we have to start peeling back the layers of Argentina's earlier matches, specifically early in the knockout stage when they played Cape Verde. Now, Cape Verde was the absolute, undisputed, ultimate tournament underdog. They were on this incredible, unprecedented fairy tale run that captured the imagination of football romantics everywhere. Everyone loves a David versus Goliath story, right? And while it was fully expected that a historic powerhouse like Goliath, Argentina, would win, the way they systematically and ruthlessly crushed David ended up deeply alienating a lot of those romantics.
Argentina didn't just win. They played with an aggressive edge. They heavily taunted the smaller nations' players, drew unnecessary cards, and acted with a level of arrogance that just felt entirely uncalled for against a team that was honestly just happy to be there. It was the first stark instance where neutral viewers started looking at Argentina not as the heroic protagonists of their own story, but as the ruthless villains ending someone else's.
Section 3. Conspiracies and controversy. But ending a beloved underdog's fairy tale isn't usually enough, on its own, to turn the whole world against a team. That brings us to their next clash against Egypt. This is where we find the first major, undeniable turning point for the massive global bloc of neutral fans. Egypt wasn't just another opponent. They were led by Mo Salah, a massive fan favorite globally known for his sportsmanship and incredible skill. The Pharaohs were putting up the fight of their lives. They were leading the game, playing brilliantly, but they were ultimately knocked out after a very dramatic late comeback by Argentina. But it wasn't the comeback itself that sparked the international outrage. It was exactly how that comeback materialized. The entire second half of the match was deeply clouded by intense controversy, totally overshadowing the football itself and leaving a bitter taste in the mouths of viewers worldwide. So, the crucial point here is the sheer scale of the backlash, which makes perfect sense when you systematically list the specific, serious accusations that emerged from that game. On the pitch, neutral fans and seasoned pundits were just left bewildered by highly questionable refereeing decisions. Soft penalties were awarded to Argentina, while blatant fouls against Egyptian players went entirely unpunished. Then, an added, staggering layer of conspiracy was thrown into the mix when FIFA chief Gianni Infantino was openly accused of celebrating in the VIP box, heavily biased toward the Argentinians. Suddenly, the narrative radically shifted from Argentina being a highly skilled team to Argentina being an institutionally protected team. And if the on-pitch conspiracies weren't damaging enough, off the pitch, things took a much darker turn. There were serious, documented accusations of overt racism by Argentina's ultra supporters during these matches, alongside multiple accounts of violent, aggressive behavior in the host cities. When you stack these deeply troubling elements up, blatant referee bias, executive-level conspiracies, vile racism, and crowd violence, you have the exact potent recipe for turning a massive neutral audience firmly and decisively against a team. Section 4. The Final Showdown.
Which brings us to the final showdown, Argentina versus Spain. There is a deep, profound irony here. Despite having Lionel Messi, arguably one of the greatest players to ever touch a football, Argentina are actually the underdogs on paper against this young, dynamic, and incredibly talented Spanish side. Yet, because of the geopolitical provocations against England, the ruthless crushing of tournament darlings like Cape Verde, the swirling, undeniable conspiracies against Egypt, and the deeply ugly controversies surrounding their fan base, Spain steps onto the pitch with something Argentina desperately, undeniably lacks: the absolute backing of the rest of the world. Ultimately, it all comes down to this Sunday. It's a clash of grand narratives just as much as it is a clash of footballing titans. So what does this all mean? We are left looking at a deeply polarizing scenario. Will Messi manage to somehow overcome the deafening noise, defy the odds, and claim his second World Cup to cement his ultimate legacy? Or will the sheer weight of global opposition win out, resulting in the entire world celebrating Argentina's fall? The stage is set, the lines are drawn, and we will soon find out.